Hello everyone, this is Sarah Berman with Practically Writing. Today we are going to be discussing writing apps, and specifically writing apps that track word counts. Yay! We're going to talk about the pros and cons of using them and what some of the more common ones are so that you can figure out the best way to track your writing goals. I love them. I do have some announcements afterwards, as usual, so stay tuned until the very end of the video. Probably one of the best reasons that I have for using a writing app or a word count tracking app is that there's a certain satisfaction in logging in what you've done. Writing is kind of a, lost in space kind of career. You spend a lot of time doing a lot of work with very, very little that you can physically show as what you've done. If you sit here and type 1,000 words, that's a lot. That's a good day's work. If you look at 1,000 words on a page, that's like 4 pages worth of words. It isn't as impressive when you look at it like that. So it's very important to have a positive reinforcement. It helps with your motivation and it helps with getting the work done. There are a few very common tools that are associated with word count tracking apps. So I'm just going to go over a few of them. One of the features that I particularly like is a timer. So it's essentially a stopwatch, and each app has its own variation. Some you can set a timer and then you enter in your words and then it's like, yay! Some of them it's just a timer. So, you have your own goals and you have a timer that you work against. I find that it does a really good job in getting your word count up, because no matter what your writing style, there's something about having a timer that you're just like, oh my gosh, I gotta type. There's that kind of urge to compete, that, the pressure to meet the goal. Timers work to get your word count up. They really do. Even better is if you work with a group of people or even just one other person. Sometimes they're called word wars, sometimes they're called sprints, where you agree to essentially both work on a specific timer at the same time. And then you like, hey, I did 500 words. Hey, I did 400 words. And it's not really a competition so much as a check-in. I really recommend those for people who are writing. Find somebody else who's working on a work in progress right then, and do these word wars or word sprints. Probably the most necessary feature in a word count tracker is the ability to set goals. I know, you thought I was going to say tracking word counts. Yeah, duh. If it doesn't do that, why even bother? But to be able to set a goal, to be able to say, I have until this date to get to this word count, that is invaluable, especially if you have any kind of deadlines, whether they're official deadlines or self-made deadlines. Either way, being able to set these goals and have the app or site track them for you is huge. Some of these apps and sites have more variables that you can put into these goals. The one that I use the most, which I'll talk about when I talk about the actual apps themselves, it has where you can set it so that it's either a higher or lower amount on the weekends. So if you happen to work a full-time job, you have more time on the weekends, you want to set a higher goal on the weekends. So it essentially breaks up your main goal into smaller daily goals, and then it adjusts those based on certain variables. I really like that because it helps tell me what I need to do for the day, and it's more flexible to what my schedule is. Flexibility is so key. The last feature that I want to talk about is probably the one that gets the most satisfaction to the user, and that is graphs. You have like your daily goals, and they steadily progress up as you're going, your total's going up. Look at that. Oh, look at how your word count just goes up and up and up. And then it gets to the line that indicates that you have reached your goal, and you're like, I'm going to Disneyland. The entire purpose of the graphs is to give you a visual representation of how far you've come. And that is so satisfying when, you know, you're plugging along at this thing and it seems like you've been working on it forever, and it seems like you're never putting in a whole lot of words, but you know, you just keep going and going, and that graph just grows up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and it's awesome. Yeah, you want one that has a nice graph feature. Fortunately, that's also one of the most common features, so there you go. Okay, let's talk about the apps themselves. Now, probably the most well-known one is through NaNoWriMo. So NaNoWriMo.org, which hosts National Novel Writers Month every November, actually has a word count tracking app built into the page. Previously, this app was only available during the month of November. However, they have made adjustments, and you can now access these word counters at any time. If you have an account, or if you're even interested, it's all free to set up, and you can just swoop in, do your word counts, play around with it, and see if it's what you like. I found it quite satisfactory because it's one of those that requires that you enter in the amount that you actually wrote during that time period. You know, they have like a little timer thingy. You can do a timed word sprint or word war, and then you enter in how much you've done during that time, and it automatically adds it to your word count tracker. It's a really easy platform to use, so I recommend it for people who are looking for kind of an all-in-one situation. There is also one called WordKeeper Alpha. It is also free to use, and it's a very basic platform, so if you're not looking for a lot of bells and whistles to maybe hold you up or distract you, then this is probably the one you're going to want. It does have the word counter, the start date, the end date, and you know, the goals set up, and of course the graph, because you want your little graph. That one is a good one for, you know, a really basic word count tracker. One app that I have had a lot of other authors recommend to me is called Write-O-Meter. That's an app that you can actually load onto your phone, so it's mostly mobile, but it has, you know, the basic features of goal planning, setting your goals, entering your word counts, getting your little graph, because, you know, yay, we love the graph. And there are a few additional tools in there. Again, free to sign up. Just check out the features and see if it's something you'll like. I think it would be better for people who are more on the go, who use a lot of different formats for their writing. For example, I'm almost exclusively a typing on the laptop writer. Some people like to do voice to text on their mobiles, or, you know, even typing into Drive through whatever device they have, you know, things like that. Go ahead and check that out if you want a little more mobility in your app. The app that I probably use the most for this is called Pacemaker. And the reason I like it is because for the free sign up, you can have 2 different projects. You can manipulate those projects in a lot of different ways. You can set it to make weekends less intensive. You can set it to have specific days off during your goal period. So if you know you're taking a vacation time in the middle of it, you don't have to do the calculations in your head. You're just like, I ain't writing this day, and it readjusts all the other days so you're still staying on target with your goals. You can have it so that you enter in either what you've written for the day or your total at the end of each day. Some people do where they'll set up a different page every single day and they'll calculate that word count. And then there are people who do an entire document and just keep adding on to it and look at the cumulative word count. Either one of these works well with Pacemaker. Now, probably the most interesting thing about Pacemaker is it also works for non-writing goals. It's actually designed to be a goal tracker in general. You can find a lot of different things if you're, doing a writing and you're trying to increase your exercise. You can track both of those through the same program. It's great that way. That is, my gold star program, but I'm always open to looking for other apps, and anything that I can do to possibly jack up my productivity is a good thing. Not to state the obvious, but there is, of course, word counters built into most word processing programs. You can do your own homemade word count tracker in a combination of word processing and spreadsheets. Now, this would work really well if you are extremely familiar with both of these, formats, and you have something specific you want in mind. That would be great. You can get your specificity. You can do your formulas and graphs and all that other fun stuff in spreadsheets. Great. I personally, lazy writer, if somebody's going to build it, I will use it rather than doing my own. Most of the time. Okay, if it's free. I want to hear from you. What do you use to track your word counts or set your goals? How do you keep track of your writing goals? What kind of writing goals do you like to keep track of? Tell me in the comments below. Do it. Okay, announcements. I do have a few giveaways that I am working on. They're still currently tucked up my sleeve, so stay tuned for more information on that. The Patreon swag giveaway, second quarter, has been closed now that it is the first of the month. Stay tuned for the announcement as to who that winner is. Are you excited? However, I can tell you that this quarter, the swag prize is a tote bag with a lovely typewriter scene featuring the cover of Too Wyrd. It'll be perfect for groceries, carrying around books, putting body parts into, I don't know. What things do you carry in your bags? I don't know. It's not my business. Also, I'm doing a lot of work to help Lexis Infinitum PR set up their anthology, which I will be in. This will feature the short story Precious Scars, as well as 6 other authors' stories. This is a charity anthology for mental health, so all proceeds will be being divided into 2 charities, one here in the United States and one in Australia. The release date for that is currently looking at June 8th. You'll be able to check that out. We'll be having a little party on Facebook, so don't forget to join us there. In the meantime, I am working on another short story, which is A Time and a Place, the prequel to the Magus series, or the Magus Chronicles. Which way should I go on that? The Magus books. Maybe I should do a poll. I think I'll do a poll. Check out my Patreon and you'll find a poll for how I should name this series. It is a time travel short story for a time travel anthology. It should be a lot of fun. After that, I will be working on... there are so many choices. We'll figure that out later. Don't forget to like the video, don't forget to ring the bell, and don't forget to subscribe. I upload once every 2 weeks, so that's twice a month, because I like the number 2. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the links are below. You can still get a copy of Too Wyrd and Fluffy Bunny from the Rune Spells series. You can still get a copy of Her Favorite Mistake and His Precious Undoing from Lena Grace's Hot Fae Nights. You can still check out all of my anthologies. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can sign up for my Patreon. Oh my gosh, there's just so much to do. I think that'll do it for this week. See y'all next time. I wish I could go to Disneyland every time I met a goal. Like yoga for apps. App yoga. Yoga app. I don't think that means what I think it means. If it's body parts, wrap it in newspaper first. It absorbs the blood. This vlog has been brought to you by the number 2. My social media's wonderland. Oh. Yeah, I'm sad I went there too.